every company is trying to make use of AI somehow at the moment. Can you talk me through the role of leadership in making sure that it works?
Yeah, I think like any other significant enterprise-wide change, especially technology change, AI and generative AI is no exception. And I don't think any of this can succeed without not just the leadership support, but active leadership involvement. In fact, as a part of my own research, that I've been speaking to a lot of subject matter experts from the field. Some of those firms were actually very vocal about the fact that without leadership, you will have, and we have seen that in the past, right? In the classical digital, in the IT environment, we have seen a plethora of those so-called IT, shadow IT, and digital sprawls. And I think we are beginning to see a semblance of that with the whole AI sprawls. That means you have a lot of localized siloed solutions that probably happen and operate within the context of what they're trying to do. But then if you really want to like bring up the whole thing, and to me, AI adoption has to be seen as the tide that lifts all the boat together. So if you really want to orchestrate this, you have to have the leadership kind of setting the agenda and making sure that and I'm not saying that it has to be necessarily seen as a negative thing that, hey, there is like a top-down mandate sort of a thing. But I think it's really a question of making sure that you are kind of watering all the plants at the same time. Unless you do that, you're probably going to see very lopsided results. And what will happen even worse than that is some of the gains that we have made in productivity in one of the pockets are offset by the drag on the system. It's like the classical physics analogy that if you have three pencil cells or batteries and two of them drain out and you remove the two, you remove the two and put new ones, well, the old one will still continue to drain the new ones there, that kind of a thing. So I think the impedance mismatch is going to be significantly higher if you still do not take care of some of them. So I think the leadership is, to me, really making sure that they can take a 30,000 feet view and really look at the systemic view of the whole thing and remove the bottlenecks that are really blocking the system-wide or enterprise-wide progress, as opposed to only saying, "Hey, I can manage to do just the siloed one, and that's all we need to do."
A lot of great analogies there. I love that idea of watering all the plants at the same time, and just so leadership's role is to make sure that everything is harmonized and working together rather than against each other. So just digging into this a bit more, like I know in theory it should be a chief AI officer in charge of all the AI projects, but a lot of companies don't have that. So can you talk me through who in leadership needs to get involved in AI?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, Richie. And I'm kind of divided in my mind as to if number one, is that the right ailment, and number two, is that the right remedy? Because a lot of organizations, in my own research, I've seen the pattern that they typically start, for no fault of theirs, with kind of a quote unquote a small body of experts like a data scientist and AI engineers who kind of sit in a silo and they start doing the things. And then over a period of time, what they realize is that, hey, AI is not a plug-in module, if you will, or it's not an afterthought, or it's not definitely something that can be stood up as an independent capability inside the organization. So you have to start kind of horizontalizing it rather than verticalizing it, which means you have to kind of start embedding it into the work processes if you would like to really harness the true power of AI. At that point in time, you may or may not need, depending on the culture of the organization. But I'll take both the pros and cons approach of that. It might be helpful to have somebody who's kind of setting the common agenda, rather than letting everyone go on their own speed and their own pace and in their own direction. So to that extent, I take the analogy of the conductor of a philharmonic orchestra. You really are that very low touch kind of a approach, but you still are kind of coordinating, because everybody is a world-class musician in a philharmonic orchestra. So it's not to say that you're kind of teaching them how to play the instrument, but you are still making sure that 50 or 70 musicians are all singing to the same tune. So the same way, you have to make sure that you are orchestrating the efforts in making sure that people are making the right progress. They are aligned to one common goal larger than any of their individual capabilities. and more importantly, they are you are able to you are the one who is able to provide the look ahead 40 steps in front, when any one of them cannot see more than 5 or 7 steps at a time. And you are able to anticipate some of those big boulders and kind of say, hey, guys, we need to get ready for that. And even more importantly, will be the common causes that we continue to see. Because what's going to happen in the absence of any central coordination is that you will continue to see some kind of localized solutions to what people think as the localized problem. Because if my visibility is only like my department, I'm only going to think internally and I'm going to only solve the problems within that. Now, unbeknownst to me, there could be 5 other similar kind of fires that are happening inside the organization. And if nobody's really able to look at all of them, you're probably going to have a tough time, and because you're going to repeat and waste a lot of organizational resources and time. And you will never have the semblance of one single common seamless solution. So I think a chief AI officer to me is it's a mindset. It doesn't have to be really seen as one single individual, but it has to be seen in the shape and form of a common thought process that's kind of stitching all these perspectives together. It's a forum, it could be platform, it could be body welders, whatever you like to call it. But obviously, it has to have teeth. It has to have some way of kind of enforcing the rule book, so to say, and it has to have the mandate that, hey, there is somebody who's really whose KPIs are all about organizational deliverables as opposed to the functional deliverables inside. So if that can be, in some cultures of the organizations, it can be done by one individual who is a CXO level executive, so be it. In some other organizations, it could be an added responsibility to one of the CXOs with a shared goals at a later level, so be it. And again, the reason why I'm saying is, so for example, if I'm a people organization, let's say I'm developing people as a core competency. I might be using software, I might be using n number of things, but I'm really a people organization at heart. As opposed to that, let's say I'm a marketing organization and I'm really doing marketing for a living, and I'm still using obviously people and everything else. Now, it might probably make sense for me to think of that the HR the subject matter expert in the first case, or the marketing subject matter in the second case, could be more aligned to the business context in which we are trying to solve the problems. And hence, with the right kind of a training and with the right kind of aptitude, they might actually be able to do a much better job of integrating the solution domain and the problem domain, rather than having a third person who has no idea absolutely about HR or marketing or anything else, and is only talking about AI for a living, is really coming in the room. Just to summarize it, my favorite humorous way of looking at it is that there were 2 people in the room and they were not talking to each other. So in our wisdom, we decide to have a third person. Now, guess what? The 3 of them don't talk to each other. So I think that to me is really danger of finding somebody who has no idea about the business in which we are operating and only has a solution mindset. So if that is a kind of a prescription somebody gives to me, I'll be very, very wary of that because I don't really want a solution when they don't understand the problem domain.